We are back at it again. The shame tour for a certain NBA franchise just getting started here. As we predicted, the humiliation that the Lakers took part in, it is just beginning. It is just beginning. The second consecutive day, our lead story involves the Los Angeles Lakers, who somehow decided it was in their best interest to apply for funds for federal coronavirus relief. There was a loan program set up intended to help small businesses. The Lakers are one of the 10 richest sports franchises in the world, and they took $4.6 million of taxpayer money from the federal government. And you likely know about that. We've talked about it. You've heard about it on Sports Talk Radio. And in a minute, you're going to hear, in the next couple of minutes, you're going to hear the rest of the story. That's my homage to Paul Harvey. So the United States Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, has publicly put the Lakers on blast. In the middle of a pandemic, we actually have the audio tape. We're going to play it here in a second. But specifically, the head of the federal Treasury, Steve Mnuchin, upset at the Lakers for taking the money, even though they returned it. And as Warner Wolf would say, let's go to the audio tape.
I never expected in a million years that the Los Angeles Lakers, which I'm a big fan of the team, but I'm not a big fan of the fact that they took a $4.6 million loan. I think that's outrageous, and I'm glad they've returned it.
All right, so there it is. That's the head of the United States Treasury there, the secretary, rather, Steve Mnuchin, as he commented there. And he says the key part there, I'm not a big fan of the fact that they took $4.6 million in the loan. I think that's outrageous. I would have never expected in a million years that the Lakers would take out such a loan. He added, and he said that companies that filed inaccurate loan applications, such as the Lakers, would potentially, that's a weasel word, face criminal liability. So let us discuss the question. What do you make here of the head of the United States Treasury, the Secretary of the United States Treasury there, commenting and talking about criminal liability and all that, slamming the Lakers? Well, I loved it because it really goes in line with what I've been saying here the last couple of days. Now, I've got the conga line, the Astros playbook, and breadcrumbs. And we will tie all these things together. Now, normally, I want to be very clear here. I am against the draconian hearings that the federal government actually regularly takes part in. Right now, they're not doing much of that because of the coronavirus. But the meddling around of the federal government, I often find a waste of time and nauseating, big government and all that. But this is the exception to the rule. All right, it is time that the political leaders there in Washington step out of the shadows and make an example of the Lakers, right? On behalf of the Ben Maller Show, we are calling for congressional hearings, right? Let's see a cornucopia of big shots from the NBA and from the Lakers get called to the carpet, get called to Capitol Hill, and I am talking a full-on conga line. And you're going to have Adam Silver leading the conga line. Jeannie Buss will be there. Rob Pelinka. I don't care. LeBron James, he's probably involved. His buddy Rich Paul, his toady Rich Paul. They are all shadow executives of the Laker franchise, Rich Paul and LeBron James. Ask them what were they thinking, right? Why did you do it? How do you think this was the right thing to do, right? Let us enjoy the show. Let us enjoy the show. That's what I would like to see. Let us enjoy the show of all these people being called out, right? Squirming and slithering like snakes as they are asked pointed questions. Who would have a problem with? Who would say, man, this is not a good thing? Can you imagine the scene? Oh, it'd be wonderful. All those big shots, all those big wigs rolling in there, one after another, all under oath, doing their thing. And since the Lakers obviously thought they could get away with this, they were above common sense, let's use them to warn others from pulling such shenanigans. These would be the most enjoyable congressional hearings we've had since Sammy Sosa years ago forgot English and Rafael Palmeiro pointed and lied about steroids to Congress. Remember the baseball hearings a long time ago now? One of my favorite chapters here at Fox Sports Radio. Now, part B of this. The other side of the story that is compelling, at least I find it compelling. I don't know if you'll find it compelling, but I got a lot of joy out of it. The historians who love the purple and gold, can't get enough, we challenged them to defend the reckless actions of Jeannie Buss, the owner. And, the fish stinks from the head down. Jeannie Buss is the head of the Lakers. She made a big show of it a couple of years ago when there was a family battle for ownership, controlling ownership of the Lakers. And Jeannie Buss won that. And so she's in charge. And when you're in charge, you got to put your big girl panties on. You got to be able to handle this, right? I mean, this is the height of incompetence and negligence. And so I will say there's only a handful had the nerve to even attempt to step into the batter's box here and try to swing back. And you want to guess what the most popular defense was for the Lakers. I'm going to tell you. It was tossing out red herrings and following the Astros roadmap. All right, that's what they're doing. The Astros playbook there. They were following along. Most of the Kool-Aid drinkers who like the Lakers they're mostly cooking up red herrings. We saw this and heard this yesterday on the show. If you don't know what that means, it means they're trying to divert attention from the main topic and muddy the waters with other things, right? Rather than focus on the activities of the Lakers, which was clearly wrong. It's indefensible. Rather than talk about that, it's like, well, wait a minute here. It's the shoot the messenger technique. It's like, well, you're a Clipper fan, you're a Laker hater, so it doesn't matter if you're absolutely right, Ben, with everything you say. You're a schmuck, so you're wrong, and I love the Lakers, and screw you. That's pretty much the comeback of the Laker historians, which, again, it's understandable. There's no defense for this. Anyone with common sense knows the Lakers were complicit in attempting and succeeding to a point of stealing $4.6 million from mom-and-pop business owners, not just in Los Angeles, but across the country. But instead, this is a Clipper issue. That's what they try to focus on, that rather than the substance. And I get it. I wouldn't either. If I was on that side of the aisle, I would not focus on the substance because, it's that old line about, if you have the facts, you pound the facts, right? And then eventually you get to the point where you pound the table. And that's essentially what's going on with this. And my absolute favorite, though, page out of the Astro playbook. We've been dealing with this. We thought this would be the big story right now in the Astros and what was going to go on with that and their comeuppance tour around baseball, which hasn't happened, which hopefully will happen soon. But the Astros caught red-handed. They're lapdogs from Houston. They went with the same defense the Lakers are using. Right? There's no debate. The Astros cheated. Mike Fiers gave a tutorial on exactly how the Astros did it. Bang, bang, whistle, whistle, all that stuff. All right, there's no debating the Lakers violated the integrity of the rule, that the money that was available by Congress that was designed for small businesses when they're worth $4 billion, which is not a small business. And so it's the same situation. Caught red-handed, right? Caught red-handed. So what do? You go to page 46 of the Astros Book of Lies, and you say, but everyone does it. Yeah, I love that. The everyone does it defense, trying to rationalize the activity. Don't blame us. Name some other sports teams. How do you know they're the only sports team? Like, it matters whether they're the only one or there's 7 other teams that did the same thing, right? You just look at everyone else. It's not me. It's I might have robbed the bank, but that guy over there robbed the bank also. Yawn. Right? In the legal world, we've talked about this many times, they asked, how could you possibly believe that an act is right because everyone else is doing it? But that's the mindset of the delusional sports fan in both the situation with the Astros and now this thing with the Lakers. Now, the last word here. We are doubling down behind these microphones on Fox Sports Radio with a statement we made in a previous episode. What Jeannie Buss, and it's her, she's the watchdog of the Lakers. What she and her Laker franchise did was as bad, if not worse, than Donald Sterling in his reign of terror with the Lakers. I got a couple of emails about this. Oh, man, I can't believe you went there. Sterling's a bigot, and he was recorded. Didn't realize he was being recorded. This is a big point that needs to be mentioned. So he said things he shouldn't have said that were wrong. He got caught in a private recording that he did not realize would be blasted on TMZ. The Lakers, what they did is more blatant because they knew the moment they filed that application with the federal government getting money, getting a loan that was intended for small businesses, the Lakers knew that was on the public record. It wasn't like they tried to hide it. Donald Sterling, say what you want about the guy, and I'm glad he's gone. I'm in a better situation as a supporter of that team with Steve Ballmer.
Racist.
But the point is that that he didn't know what he was saying was going to be public. The Lakers knew exactly what they were doing was on the public record. And they attempted to exploit the situation. Think about that. Exploiting a pandemic. Does it get any lower than that? Does it get any lower than taking money out of the pockets of people that are struggling, that are drowning, right? Businesses everywhere outside of the grocery stores are really in a bad spot right now, and they took that money. This is not some kind of victimless crime. Follow the breadcrumbs, right? We will never know the exact number of how many victims the Lakers are responsible for. How many stores were forced to close? How many employees have now gone on unemployment where if they had gotten that money, they could have lasted and could have survived and rode the wave out. You know, for the Lakers, $4.6 million is chicken feed. Right? For small businesses, that's not chicken feed. That's prime rib. That is prime rib. Center cut. All right? The NBA has to do something here. Nah, they probably won't. They never do anything, but they should. Suspend Jeannie Buss. Whenever the NBA comes back, banned. Ban. All right? Congress has to hold hearings. Hold these people accountable. Hold them accountable. And just because they gave back the money is irrelevant, right? Try robbing a liquor store tonight, get caught on camera, be arrested, and then say, all right, I'll give back what I stole. I didn't really mean it. You know, it was a misunderstanding. And see if they allow you just to go home. I'm going to bet that that's not what's going to happen, right? So don't sweep this under the rug. And I would like to think that this will not be forgotten. I know I'm not going to forget it. And you can't forgive this. The American people should not forgive this. This is a mark that stench is going to stay with the Lakers forever in a pandemic. This is a teachable moment, but it's only a teachable moment if they actually get punished, which means the NBA's got to do something and Congress has to do something, and we demand it.